been working so long and hard for. We have the potential as Arab countries, and we should prove the public eye wrong. What do you think about that?
Jibli Malat.
Well, I agree with you. The problem is the vehicle. I think that when I say it's counterproductive, it's that there are so many talents in the Arab world, and we're being let down all the time by this Arab League. We've tried time and again to reform it. I've been myself to the Arab League on one occasion in Cairo, where we were supposed to debate reform, and that was the time when Sa'd-ad-Din Ibrahim was in prison. So it gives you an idea of the extraordinary amount of the gap that there is between the lemons and the lemonade. And to the extent that the lemonade does not correspond at all to what we deserve, I think it's better to avoid it and try to find out something else.
Let me bring Hisham Yusuf in here.
Now, to argue that countries are not reforming or they are not changing because of the presence of the Arab League is ludicrous. You know, why isn't any country changing its educational system or its healthcare system or its transportation system or advancing its process of democratization? Is because the Arab League in Cairo preventing it from doing so? So the Arab League is preventing the countries that are eager for reform, but the Arab League is preventing them from doing so? I think this is unbelievable. You can't make an argument of that nature and get away with it. You know, reform is important. And we have to advance in reform, whether it's political, economic, or social, you name it. But you can't blame the Arab League for governments not reforming.
All right,
if there is a problem of political will in dealing with many of these issues, not only in the Arab world, but also at the international level, then you have to find out what the problem is and how to resolve it.
Okay, let him come back.
Well, it's the Arab League. That's
well, let him come back on.
Look, I think that there is a profound difference, in my view, with yours and Azmi's. And I'll give you two simple examples. We have sent a motion. 71 MPs out of 128 Lebanese MPs sent a motion to the Arab League at the last summit to say our current president is illegitimate. What has the Arab League done with it? Zero.
This is not
it has
true.
embraced.
It's not
it has
true.
embraced an illegitimate president.
True.
So
okay.
it's standing in
this
front
did
of
not happen. This did not happen.
All right, I'm going to move on to a gentleman in the front row.
My question is to Shafiq. You talked about that there is a problem in the Arab League, and you didn't bring, and you just want to disband it, while you didn't bring anything to replace that. And you know that disbanding bad organization and not replacing will cause a bigger problem. Don't you believe that bad leadership is better than nothing?
Shafiq Kabra.
Well, you see, if you see, reforming the Arab League is problematic. In 2004, there was this talk about reforming the Arab League and having a common market, and the vote will be different. Nothing happened. 6 years, in fact. Nothing happened in the reform of the Arab League. It's like reforming the regime of Haile Selassie of Ethiopia during the times of Haile Selassie. It will not get us anywhere. It is not doing anything in the tribal sectarian war in Iraq. It is not doing anything in what is going on in Palestine. It is not doing anything anywhere. And therefore, disbanding it means to me like exactly disbanding a Ministry of Information somewhere in Qatar or in the Arab world. Distribute the organizations that are linked to the Arab League to the variety of Arab states. Let those states, and some of them, take responsibility.
Qatar
Let the structure.
Qatar has disbanded.
Yes, disbanded its Ministry of Information. You can do the same to the Arab League, and still, I mean, you have 12 organizations under the Arab League. None of them is doing anything serious. They are all under budget. They don't even have the salaries to pay at the end of the month. None of the Arab states are paying for them. Find a way to bring those. There is an organization for women. What does it do for women? There is an organization for trade. What does it do for trade?
Let him come back on your point. Hisham Yusuf.
You see, it is very unfortunate. You speaking about something without knowing the basic information of most of these things that you're talking about. You see, I'm not saying that the Arab League is the best institution in the world. Far from it. And I know many of the difficulties facing the Arab League more than you can imagine. But I can tell you a lot of success stories about what has been done by many of these organizations, whether it's an organization for development of agriculture or industrial development or to advance tourism or trade. I have seen tens of business people who have told me that as a result of the free trade area in the Arab world, that they have been able to live and that their businesses have been flourishing. Many investments, inter-Arab investments, tourism in the Arab world. You know, there are many success stories in relation to some of these issues. Some of them are not known to some of you because of the bad publicity.
All right, okay, we're going to move on. We're going to take a question from a lady at the back, please.
I have a question for Mr. Shibli. I would like to ask if you're criticizing the Arab League when that it hasn't done anything to Lebanon, when the people in Lebanon itself have not been able to unite. There are so many sectors in Lebanon itself, and they have not been able to unite to come up with one decision. So how do you expect the Arab League as a whole to come and solve this problem? Thank you.
Look, I think that there is no doubt that the responsibility for each people is their own responsibility first and foremost. In other words, the motion tonight with us is not about what to do with the sectarian system in Lebanon, which I agree is a big problem. And I'm not saying that the problem, that the motion tonight of disbanding the Arab League has to do with the issue of Lebanon. What I know is that every time there is something related to Lebanon, the Arab League goes in the wrong direction. And I'll give, because Lebanon could be an emotional dimension, personal dimension, but let me get back to Azmi on the issue of Iraq. Back in 2003, a group of Arab individuals, citizens, got together and said, look, we're going to have the Americans occupy Iraq. Let's do something about it. Let us put pressure so that Mr. Saddam Hussein leaves power. Do you think it went anywhere with the Arab League? It went nowhere with the Arab League. It was the responsibility of the Arab League to prevent the war in 2003, and there was a movement from 50 individuals in the Arab world, proud Arabs, who said, Mr. Hussein is bringing us a catastrophe, he should go home.
Okay, Azmi Bashara wants to answer that. Let him come in.
Well, I mean, because Shibli directed to me, I think it is a kind of, either the Arab League changes Saddam Hussein and the United States should come in. It's neither the job of both. Well, they could not convince Saddam Hussein. Okay, bad for Saddam Hussein. But it doesn't mean that the Arab League should be disbanded because it could not convince Saddam Hussein to leave power. I think the UN won't be able to convince George Bush to leave power. I'm sure of that. This doesn't make that the UN should be disbanded. And I think that George Bush should leave power, as early as possible, And I don't think that the UN can convince him to do that. It's not an argument. I think, yes, Saddam Hussein should have gone earlier, yes, this is true. And the Arab League could not succeed, it's true. This means that the Arab League should be empowered, not disbanded. It should be empowered. You should give the Arab League more strength, not disband the Arab League.
Okay. Very briefly.
Very briefly. One on Lebanon and one on Iraq. One on Lebanon in relation to stability in Lebanon. Stability in Lebanon now is as a result of a deal brokered in El Ta'if by the Arab League. This is one point. The second point is in relation to Iraq. The situation in Iraq, it's not only the Arab world that wanted to avoid war. It's the Arab world, France, Germany, Russia. We all tried to avoid the war. We all failed. So why are you blaming the Arab League only for failing that?
Okay. We're going to move to a question. Lady in the third row.
My question is for the panel against the motion. Why do you defend the Arab League when every time our leaders gather to solve our problems, they agree to disagree? Don't you think that it's time that we as Arabs start looking towards forming a more effective, united Arab Union?
Azmi Bashara.
Well, I mean, this is generalization. Arabs agree to disagree. Arabs do not leave an opportunity to miss an opportunity. These are generalizations.
But she doesn't feel served by the Arab League.
Well, okay. I'm not served at all by the Arab League. I don't feel served. I'm not served. The Arab League does not serve me. It does not serve you. Still, we can discuss things. I mean, we don't only discuss things that serve us. Doesn't serve me at all. I don't expect anything from the Arab League. I am just suspicious about people who want to disband the Arab League. Like they want to disband Arabs in general.
Let her come back.
Because their meetings are actually, we see them on TV and we see them argue and sometimes cause scenes, embarrassing
scenes.
Excuse
me, let her finish, please.
So we see them on TV arguing.